So intellectual property is quite a wide-ranging topic. It could include some music that you've created, it could include images, maybe a design that you've actually put together. So in terms of intellectual property, it's that thing that actually you've created, it's the value that you've put in to whatever it is that you're doing. And intellectual property in that context can actually be protected and add value to your business, and also prevent other people from stealing the idea or the creation. IP is important to a business because it does have value, and from the point of view of how you can use that value in the business, first of all you've got to establish some form of protection. And if you've got a logo that's particularly relevant to your organisation, then that's part of your brand, and as we know today, brand has a lot of value, so you'd want to protect that logo. From that point of view, you may want to have it as a registered trademark. If you've actually produced maybe a training course, then you've got material and content and images that you've created to deliver the course. There again, you'd want to copyright that type of material because that's value to you. If someone else is able to steal and reproduce that without your approval, then you're going to lose out in terms of how you make sales to your clients, for your business. So it's really important, first of all, that you understand about intellectual property, and then understand and find a mechanism to value it, protect it so that you can use it. And in the future, you may actually want to sell it. You may decide that the product that you're working on should be licensed, or maybe you're looking at a franchise. Again, you need to make sure that your intellectual property is protected before you go out and start negotiating licenses. There's also a very important area of IP that actually many businesses dismiss really as being perhaps not so important, and that's in terms of contracts. Many businesses don't think so deeply about the content of the contracts, whether it's with their staff, with contractors, with volunteers, or even with their customers and their suppliers. If you're a social enterprise and you're working in the area of funded projects, which of course a lot of social enterprises are, particularly when they start up, they're getting funding from local authorities maybe, or from funding bodies or commissioners. It's very important for a social enterprise and for the commissioner to understand how that intellectual property is going to be created, who owns what at the end of the project, and how the community can benefit most. For example, if you're developing a project in one particular part of the city and that project has been funded by the local authority, then it makes sense in the context of a social enterprise that you should be able to share that. Maybe you've got an element of your project that actually another project in another part of the city could use. There's no point in paying for that to be recreated, so understanding who owns the intellectual property enables you to have a conversation to say, well, actually we can share this information. If the contract's not written in a way that enables that, and that's sometimes the case with funders, where some funders may not themselves really appreciate what they're doing when they tie down intellectual property clauses, you could find that the local authorities or the commissioners or the funding bodies actually retain ownership, and then there has to be a negotiation for how that's then forward licensed, and that can be quite difficult. It's much easier to have the situations understood up front from that point of view. So if you're a social enterprise, very much be in touch with what the funders are expecting and how you can use that material once the project has been completed. Of course, a lot of funders today and the government and organisations want social enterprise to be sustainable. If that means that the intellectual property can stay with the social enterprise and they can then sell that on and generate revenue, that's really good in terms of improving the trading position and creating sustainable outcomes.